Hello, Sudoku friends, and welcome to a very hard Chinese origin classical Sudoku puzzle. Full disclosure, I solved this puzzle already and I solved it yesterday, but I kept the empty grid because I thought after I solved the puzzle, and I did solve it without using pencil marks, I thought I would show it to you and show you how I solved it because I think this is a delightful puzzle. And I really don't think that this is a computer made. It has a feel of a hand set puzzle, but I'm not sure. In any event, I have to say that I spent at least 45 minutes solving this puzzle. And you should copy it down and have a go at it and see how well you do. And I'm sure that you can solve it faster than that because somewhere along the line yesterday I got sidetracked, but that is no excuse. I still think that this is a delightful puzzle and I'm very happy to share it with you today. I'm not going to do a lot of deliberations, but I'll show you what I found and how I solved it eventually. But it took me a while to find the opening of this puzzle because it's not really very obvious. What I found out is that this square and this square, that's a pair, and it's a 1-2 pair. You can go through the motions and you can do a simple count, which I neglected to do at the beginning of this solve, because this could be a 1 and a 2, but not a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And believe it or not, the exact same is true for this square. And I really don't know how to start this puzzle without this discovery, but I'm sure that there are ways. But as you know, I try to solve puzzles without using pencil marks, and several times yesterday I was really tempted to use pencil marks for this. But I found this opening, and then I took it from there. The next thing I found that was that the 8 blocks down here and the 8 blocks up here and the 8 blocks over here. So this is an 8. And we're always happy when we find an easy digit, aren't we? Because I tell you, these two guys weren't really easy, at least not for me yesterday. The next thing I found was that we have a 5-7 here and a 5-7 here, and they force a 5 and a 7 pair to go in these two squares. And then I saw these two sixes. They force a 6 to go here. This is just standard Sudoku rule. And the next is a very crucial find, I think. We have a 1-2 here and a 1-2 here, and we have two 2's here. So these two squares can both be a 2, but we still need to find a 2 for the second row. And the 2 here blocks this square. And this is an important find because now this is a 2. And what makes this important is that now that we have this 5 blocking here, and we have this 5 blocking here, one of these two squares must be a 5. So this 5 blocking all the way over here, this 5 blocking over here, this 5 blocking over here, that makes this a 5. And now these three squares have to be a 3, 4, and a 6. We have a 3 and a 4 in the row, and that makes this a 6. This is now a 3 or a 4, and this is a 3 or a 4, except we do have a 4 in the row, making this a 3 and making this a 4. So starting with almost nothing, and without having found a single one yet, we have now filled in all but two squares in this block 1. I found that really delightful yesterday, and I still do. And I hope that I am able to convey some of this enthusiasm to you. So now one of these must be a 3. And from here, I'm not quite sure how I continue it, but I will try to recreate it now by examining this grid. First of all, there are 2 2's here, forcing a 2 to go in this square here. We also have these 2's here, then they block these squares and the 2 blocks across here, so this is a 2. And now one of these must be a 2. And also crucial, I think, is that the 3 now blocks this square, and we have 2 3's blocking these 2 squares, so one of these must be a 3. If you recall, one of these squares must be a 5. Because of the 2 7's here, one of these must also be a 7. And now we have a 1, 2, and a 9 for these 3 squares. And I think that is important because these two being a 5 and a 7, we got a 9 blocking over here and a 9 blocking up here. This is a 9. And therefore, one of these two must be a 9. These two squares must be a 1 and an 8. And please note that we still haven't found the 1 and the 2 that go in these two squares. And here comes another crucial part, and that is concerning the 9's. These two squares can't be 9. These two can't be 9 because they have to be a 5 and a 7. This square can't be a 9 because of 9 here, so this is a 9. And that gives this nice revelation. These two squares have to be a 1 4 pair. You can check yourself. For this column, we need to find a 1 4 5 and a 9. There's a 5 and a 9 in the row, so this is a 1 or a 4. For these 5 squares, we need to find a 1 2 4 7 and a 9. There's a 7 and a 9 here and a 2, so this is a 1 and a 4. So these two are 1 and 4's. I have to admit also that yesterday that took me quite a while to figure out. And since this square can't be a 3 due to the 3 up here in the corner, this must be a 3. And that makes this a 6 because that's the last missing digit from the bottom row. And kindly note that even though we have a 1 4 pair here, we still can't place the 1 and the 2 in these two squares. But we can do other things. There's a 6 here and a 6 here blocking all the way over here. We have a 6 here blocking here, so this is a 6. And that gives us this 6. From here, it's a quite easy sailing. I just wanted to share the beginnings of this puzzle with you, but of course I'm going to finish it now that we have come this far. A 1, 4, and an 8 for these 3 digits, for these 3 squares. There's an 8 here and a 4 up here, so this must be a 1. And this is actually the first one we find in the entire grid. Isn't that amazing? So we know that one of these is a 1, and we now know that one of these must be a 1. Since we also know that these have to be a 5 and a 7, this square must be a 3. And that makes this a 3. We now have a 9 for this square here because of these two 9's blocking over here like so, and the 9 blocking down here. So this is a 9. This is still a 1, 2, and we also need a 3 to complete this column. There's a 3 that blocks this square, therefore this is a 3, and this is now a 1, 2, except we finally have a 2 here, making this a 1, and this a 2, and this a 1. As I said, from here it's relatively easy to continue to complete this puzzle. We remember the 1, 4 here now. There's a 1 in this column, making this a 4, and this a 1. Now we need a 2 and a 7 for these two squares. There's a 2 blocking this cell here, so therefore it's a 7, and this is a 2. A 4 and a 7 for these two squares, easy. We got the 4 coming down here, making this a 7, and this a 4. These two 7s block here and here. This 7 blocks here, making this a 7. A 2 and an 8, and a 2 and an 8. There's a 2 in this box, so this must be the 8, and this must be the 2. And therefore this must be an 8. There's nothing magical about that. And this is, of course, also an 8, making this a 4. One of these must be a 4 now. What do we have up here? We have a 1 and a 9, and that makes this a 5. And if you do recall, we already knew that these two had to be a 5 and a 7 because we figured that out a long time ago. And this must now be a 1. These two squares, an 8 and a 7, we have an 8 in the row, making this a 7, this an 8. Now one of these cannot be a 7, nor can this, so therefore this is a 7, making this a 9. We got a 9 blocking up here, and we got the 9 blocking over here, so this is also a 9. That makes this a 9, and this up here a 9, and this a 1. This last digit has got to be a 4. And these two now must be a 4 and a 5. Really? So let's look at these. There are 5 and a 7. We have a 7 here now, so this is a 5, which we have known all throughout this puzzle. Therefore, this is a 5, and this is a 4, making this a 4. This lonely cell must be a 1, making this a 1, I think, yes, and this 1 here, and this is now a 3, making this a 3, and this must be a 5. There you have it. A very hard puzzle, 7 stars according to the photocopy sheet I have in front of me. And as I said at the beginning, I did solve this yesterday. I only partly remembered it today, but I thought yesterday that it was a very unique puzzle, and it gave me a lot of pleasure, even though I spent at least 45 minutes figuring it out. It was somewhat quicker today. I hope that you enjoyed it and that maybe you saw a few tricks that you can use. I thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.